with Froggen. That looked like a hard-fought series, but you guys were able to walk away with the win. That sends EnVy into the promotion tournament. It potentially keeps you guys safe from it. How are you feeling after that one?
I think it feels good. I mean, a win always feels good, right? I mean, I don't know. It's just like another win.
It is another win, but it's also the last win that you guys are going to have. This was your final game of the regular split for spring of 2017. And how do you feel about where Echo Fox is, both yourself personally and the team as a whole? How do you feel about how far you guys have come from the beginning of this split now after having completed it with this match?
I think how we started out the start of the split with having really good showings, and then the last part of the split with basically just us getting worse and worse, on really not showing what we have learned. I think I have kind of mixed feelings about it. I feel like we should have improved a lot more than what we did, but I feel like this week was kind of like taking a step back, and like we started working on stuff so we could see improvement again. But yeah, just kind of mixed feelings.
Mixed feelings, and there's still, even though your actual regular split is done, Echo Fox has no more games to play, there's still just a little bit more, another question mark remaining, and that's whether or not you guys will be able to finish 8th or whether you're going to be finishing 9th and going to the promotion tournament. That all depends on how the match that Liquid has against FlyQuest goes tomorrow. How do you guys feel about that potential promotion situation? What are you doing to prepare for that?
We prepared for it yesterday when we lost against FlyQuest. We gave them some hope so they could win some games again.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to figure out how to prepare, the mastermind himself with the advice. All right, Froggen, again, congratulations on the win today. Here's wishing you guys the best of luck if you do end up in the promotion tournament. And now we're going to throw things back over to the analyst desk. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. Echo Fox, Froggen at the helm there, leading them to the 2-1 victory over EnVy. As was mentioned, keep their hopes of avoiding the promotion tournament alive, but it's not in their hands. And really, that's not the situation you want to be in. You did do the work that was required of you today, and so that's good. But unfortunately for them, it is playing the waiting game tomorrow and hoping that Team Liquid comes out on top over FlyQuest.
I mean, it's that feeling that every coach has every game they watch when the fate's not really in their control anymore.
Right.
Like, you might be able to go in between series and give a little word or two, but if they make the wrong play, it's out of your control. You just have to live with it, and that's kind of the situation they are now watching Team Liquid.
Are you having some flashbacks right now?
Yeah,
What's going on?
I've been through some series, all right? I have been through some series.
Okay, let's take a look at how this one came together. The Vladimir for Froggen. We've seen that this champion has quickly risen back to power here in the last couple weeks. Seems to be very strong, for many reasons. One, because the champion in its singularity in any solo 1v1 situation, very strong, but scales crazy well into the late game, allows you to skirmish, really has a lot of positives to the champion, very few detriments or negatives to be taken away.
Right, I mean, its worst matchups are, usually like, oh, you're down 10, 15 CS at 15 minutes, which is usually, assuming you're drafting well around it, a fine trade-off to go for with the Vladimir. Why it tends to be a little bit of a popular blind pick right now. And then also, I think one thing that they did well was give attention to Froggen really early on. We saw the level 2 gank come in from Acadian. It cost him a lot of his jungle. He fell really far behind Lyra in order to do that, but it did secure Froggen that lead in the mid lane, which was very important as the game went on, because the Vladimir pick was really, really ahead come the mid game, which is often when he's at his strongest.
The other big picks that we talked about following game 2 were the Jace and the Ziggs on the side of EnVy. We saw the Ziggs ban come through for Echo Fox saying, hey, we don't want to deal with that again. Still leaving the Jace up. This time, of course, though, having a little bit better of a handle on it, and Ninja not performing quite as well. In part maybe because, you see this all of a sudden becomes a slightly more AD heavy, team comp. Yes, you've got the Maokai. Yes, you've got the Elish who's building a Leandre. He's trying to get some of that magic damage out, but not quite the same disparity of types of damage.
Right, and I think playing against Ziggs is something that a lot of people don't have experience with, because he is such a zone control heavy champion, especially compared to Jace. So if you're looking at one of the two things to remove, and if you're struggling in team situations and executing complicated team fights, having a Ziggs who just throws his ult and his minefield down and makes it hard to fight,
right,
is much worse to deal with than just say, oh, the Jace poke or the Jace burst is all you really need to worry about. So I can actually understand going to ban out these Ziggs instead of the Jace here, even though it is Ninja's best champion. playing against the Zigs can be seen as more difficult.
Now, of course, as is seen with these two teams very often through the mid-game, a lot of stalling, not a whole lot of action, fighting over the vision, trying to find that opportunity to win the game. 35-30, though, in my opinion, is where the game breaks. Acadian, the catalyst here, on to Lee Sin, getting a sweet pick on Apollo that will ultimately net them a Baron.
Right, and they played the vision game well to be able to set up this flank, essentially. There was no good vision for EnVy in the river that allows Acadian to come in from the side, kick Apollo close to the rest of his team. He has the thresh lance to get out, but it's not enough because the Nautilus was there to follow. And as you saw, Ninja wasn't anywhere close involved in this fight. Being able to get that pick off. A good play by Ninja on the tail end of that to cut the minion wave so they don't risk losing the game directly there. But they're still able to grab the Baron off the back of it. That opens them up to start grabbing those inhibitors. You see the gold spike heavily right there. And then once they got close to that 5,000 gold lead again, that's all they needed to really close the game out.
And again, that play off the back of Acadian and the follow-up from Looper. The other big team fight, the one that ended the game, was Looper flash auto to lock down Apollo, and with Acadian with the follow-up, ward hop to flash kick to end the game. So it's good to see those two guys within the team fights and those skirmishes kind of starting to work together and off of each other's playmaking.
I think that's something that was heavily criticized on the side of Echo Fox, that their front line didn't do a great job of setting things up for the back line. We saw just even on the last game that whiffed flash Shen taunt that came out of Looper. So obviously a much better game here for both of them. And they did tend to have pretty good synergy over the course of the early games. They combined for a lot of kills generally, but getting into those late game team fights, being able to outperform their counterparts was really big over the course of the series.
And Acadian on this Lee Sin, again, plays like that are more reminiscent of the Acadian that we saw coming in the first 4 weeks of the split. We're still missing that kind of early game dominance, the first blood king, the guy who can accelerate his team to a victory or to an advantage, right? We're still, you see the glimpses of the mechanical brilliance, but we still haven't seen the whole return of Acadian just yet. He'll still have some time to do that. For the moment, though, I want to now look ahead and forward as we talk about what this means for the entirety of the league. So let's go ahead and take a look at the standings, see how today's matches affected those rankings. Despite their loss today, TSM, they do remain in first place. Cloud9 end the day in second, but could rise to first depending on the result of TSM's match tomorrow against Phoenix 1. FlyQuest, Team Dignitas, and Immortals are still fighting for the final 2 playoff spots, while Team Liquid and Echo Fox can still avoid the promotion tournament depending on their matches tomorrow. We start our final day of the spring split with TSM versus Phoenix 1 for a match that will solidify the top of the standings, followed by FlyQuest taking on Team Liquid in the Battle Arena. And over on NA LCS 2, Team Dignitas face Immortals, with the winner of the match securing their spot in the playoffs, and then Counter Logic Gaming will hit the rift against Team EnVy in the Battle Theater. I don't know if I've ever read off a schedule and actively had to qualify each of them to say that these matter for standings or rankings or seeding going into playoffs. Every single one of them to a degree.
Right. I mean, 3 out of 4 of those have directly decided if someone makes it into the playoffs or promotion tournament or first round or first place overall. I think even the CLG one has some importance in terms of how the 4 through 6 seeding goes. So, I mean, it's just a crazy stacked day tomorrow. Everyone better tune in because it's going to be so crazy, seeing as the standings settle, and a lot of teams will be watching as well. That people who have finished their weekend already gonna be new fans of other teams.
From your gut, do you think Phoenix 1, given what you saw today, as well as what you saw from TSM, do you think that Phoenix 1 has what it takes to make Cloud9 our #1 team, kind of bring them back to the top of the table, the place they sat for so long?
It's pretty funny because both those teams, P1 and TSM, lost in somewhat similar ways, where their bot lanes kind of got in a lot of trouble over the course of the series. So I'll be watching them in particular to see if one of them tries to exploit the other one. We see Arrow on Ezreal a lot, but his support wasn't quite up to par when the Malzahar was on the other side. Similarly, the Ezreal on the side of TSM was losing to Doublelift, of course. So I think both bot lanes need to step up for tomorrow's series, and that's going to be where a lot of it's decided.
All right, and then when we look at that FlyQuest versus Team Liquid matchup, if Team Liquid wins, great. We got 8th place. We avoid promotion tournament. If they lose, Echo Fox's win today puts them in 8th. Does Team Liquid, after beating TSM today, showing you what they showed, do they have what it takes to beat FlyQuest, or do you think that today was more of what we would call a fluke, and that again in another 3-game series they will not come out 2-1?
It's hard to say because FlyQuest even themselves have looked very erratic over the whole second half of the season. Sure, they won versus, I believe it was Dignitas, but they fell behind early in those games. They were very scrappy games, and Dignitas made a lot of mistakes. So, I mean, Team Liquid also doesn't look great, but they have been fighting pretty well, so I can see a world where TL does it, and because I'm obviously a TL homer, I'll go with that they do actually pull the upset off.
All right, one thing we know for sure is that nothing's for sure, ladies and gentlemen. So for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for more North American LCS. Good night.